All right, here we go. Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, and on YouTube. Don't forget to hit us on social media at Subway Sports Talk on Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, YouTube. Subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate you all the same, no matter where you listen, no matter who you are. Joining me back again, Mike Dadino. Mike, what a weekend in sports. You know, we had just a regular old week of basketball games, college basketball games, some English Premier League, the normal stuff. It was nothing crazy, right?
Nothing crazy, Pete. And also, I don't think I broke the news to you, did I?
I don't think so.
It's one of those sports moments, and obviously we're referring to the Luka Doncic moment, that I feel like you'll never forget where you were.
Correct. I was flabbergasted. Wait, what do you mean break the news to me? Do you have other news, or are you talking about the news?
No, I just felt like I texted you, and I'm not sure if you knew it, because you're my NBA guy for the most part. So I was like, wait, is it? My first initial reaction, I mean, we might as well jump right into it, was like, is this fake?
Yeah.
Did Shams get hacked?
It's crazy that was also Shams' reaction.
Yeah.
Did you see that? So Shams also said on ESPN and another show today that he was shocked at this trade when he found out about it, and he thought he was being scammed, which tells you a lot. Off the bat, it tells you a lot. And Mike, you're so right. Everyone remember where they were when this happened, because it really was one of the biggest splash trade moments in our lifetime, if not the biggest, right? Because most of these trades, like even if they're shocking and huge, you have some idea that one of the parties is going to be involved. Like somebody was on the block, being shopped, wanted out. In this case, the Lakers go ahead and dominate the Knicks on a Saturday night in what seemed like a great game until the Lakers just ran away with it. And then bang. And to give you a quick little inside scoop of what I was doing, Mike, because you were one of the first people, if I looked at my phone, I should say, you might have broken it to me. But I was at a bachelor party, so my phone was down. Didn't have it like on my person necessarily. It was like over on the other side of the table. And I'm playing a card game. One that's pretty intense. You have to memorize, where cards are on the table and what's going on and who has what and all this stuff. So I'm locked in. You know what I'm saying? I'm tapped in. I'm trying to win this damn game out here. And I hear somebody from across the room yell, "Oh my God, Luka traded." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, that's good." What did you just say? Luka's traded to the Lakers. I'm like, "What?" Stop. I take my hat off. I chuck it across the room. I get up. I'm like, "Nah, Luka traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis? Are you kidding me? Let me see your phone right now. Let me see your phone." I'm like, "This is not the real Shams. No way. No way. No way. No way." And then obviously it was. I was flabbergasted. I did not win the card game I was playing. My mind was locked in to a pretzel, Mike. And I might still be in a pretzel, but at least now I've been able to think about this for 2 days and have some thoughts.
Yeah, just one of those moments when you'll like never forget where you were. You'll never forget your initial reaction. I think the whole entire sports fan base was just totally shocked. I mean, I'm not a huge NBA guy. I follow the sport. I've been betting the sport more, so I've been following it a little more over the last few weeks. But I was asking my buddy today, who's a big NBA fan, and I was like, if you were to pick one player and you were to start a franchise and you had the number one pick, would you take Luka Doncic? And he said you'd take him either first, second, or third. And it's not common to see a top 3 player in the world traded for a guy that seemingly is on at this point, is it fair to say, his back 9?
Yeah,
what are the Mavericks doing? I understand a little bit. Hey, if you're not going to re-sign, man, maybe, we'll try to maximize the window now. But the Mavericks aren't winning anything. It would be funny if they won it all this year.
It would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. But they won't win it all. Right? Could they possibly be better without Luka?
No, they can't. And here's the thing, because we got a lot to unpack here, because you're right. If you think about the biggest trade assets in the league right now, you can't, in my opinion, put Luka past 4. I think number one trade asset.
It'd be Wemby.
Correct.
Luka.
Correct.
And then, you enlightened me after that. Anthony Edwards, right?
I would put it in this order, order. Wemby's number 1.
This would be a good clip.
Yeah, in my opinion, the trade assets go like this. Wembanyama, number 1 trade asset in the entire NBA. And then the order gets a little fuzzy. SGA, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Put them in whatever order you want to put them in. Those are the top 4 trade assets. 99.9% of the time, those franchises would get a call and say, ha, no, bang. Phone hung up right then and there. Except for apparently Dallas was shopping this guy who is overweight. Now he doesn't play defense. Things we knew about. Things that didn't matter, that they got to the damn NBA Finals last year, Mike. It's mind-boggling. And the biggest thing that's mind-boggling about this entire situation, they didn't shop around. They allowed no time for bidding. They didn't care who else wanted to get into the fight and offer a million first-round picks or some other great player or whatever it may be. They said, no, we're going to send this guy who we clearly don't care about to the Los Angeles Lakers. He's going to lose $120 million. Who cares? We don't really care about him. But he's going to go to the place where he's going to be set for life and be happy so we can get back Anthony Davis. It doesn't make sense, Mike. Why would they not create a bidding war for a top 5 asset in the sport?
I'm trying to figure that out. Like, how can you not shop the guy? It's one thing if maybe you don't think you're going to re-sign him and you don't want to give him that super max out. It's like $360 million, even though you just made the NBA Finals and the Western Conference Finals a year before. But if you think he was going to walk, I could at least see it a little bit. Let's try to get back the best asset we can now, because I believe it would not be next year, but it would be the year after that. So it's almost like when Soto got traded, right? Like Soto's contract was always, he was never going to re-sign with the Washington Nationals. Can they trade him? Was he never going to re-sign with the Padres? Should they trade him? And that's why you saw Soto get moved. Now, baseball is a little different because assets are more players.
There's 9 guys on the field at once, and there's 9 guys on the field at
once. Right. Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. One guy will not win you, for the most part, a championship in baseball, while in basketball, if you have Luka, you have a chance to go to the finals.
Right. Yeah.
So to not shop around Luka Doncic means that everybody involved in this decision to trade him needs to be fired. Needs to be fired, because this is a mistake that, Lukas don't grow on trees, man. You're talking about a top 5 talent in the NBA that still has not potentially hit his ceiling. I'm like lost for words, man. To not shop around, if I was a Mavericks fan, I might lose my fanhood. Like if the Nets pulled something like this,
that's real.
If the Jets pulled something like this, if the Knicks have. I'm not I'm not going to live and die by the Knicks, but if one of my main teams pulled this, I don't even know if I could root for them anymore. Like if the bottom falls out of Dallas this year, I have to seriously consider saying, am I going to really devote my money and my time to this team anymore?
Right.
Because that's not fair to me. That's not fair to the fans.
I'll tell you this right now. If you're a person who's a Mavericks fan under the age of 18, this is the best player in your lifetime who you've latched onto very tightly for the past 5 years. I can't imagine somebody who's 12 years old, who's obsessed, he's his favorite player, who's a Mavericks fan, not becoming a Lakers fan now. How could you not? I already heard a few examples of hey, I'm a diehard Mavericks fan. My son was too, but guess who he's rooting for now? Luka and the Lakers. And how could you blame him? You can't blame him. So, Mike, on the front of this team and the malpractice of it all, I did hear something very interesting from B.J. Armstrong. B.J. Armstrong is a former NBA player, couple championships in his name, and then I believe he was an agent for a handful of years as well, or maybe front office. I forget if it was front office or agent, but worked in basketball as well. And his take on this was basically that this is an owner-to-owner trade. This is not Nico Harrison, the guy who is the GM of the Dallas Mavericks, wanting Anthony Davis and wanting out of the Luka Doncic business. This is the new ownership in Dallas. They're the owners of Sands Casino, and either they don't want to pay him, either they want to reset this whole thing and do it their way. I don't know what it is, but the owner-to-owner conversation makes this a little bit not make more sense, but be more realistic, because new owner syndrome, right? What does a new owner do? They come in and they do something crazy. They either usually overpay or overextend to get a new star, or they want to rip down everything and start from scratch. Maybe that helps it make sense, but it doesn't. It doesn't mean you don't shop them around. You don't shop them around. Why do you help the Lakers? You could have gone out and gotten 6 first-round picks from the Brooklyn Nets.
You could have gotten anything you wanted, pretty much. You could
Anything.
have, I'm going to ask you some questions because you're the
Please.
NBA guy. Like, would the Timberwolves have given up Anthony Edwards?
Yeah.
Would the Bucks have given up Giannis Antetokounmpo?
No.
Okay. What about Ja Morant?
Yes.
What about Cade Cunningham?
Really quickly on Ja Morant, I think that was one of the big ones that I think you should have looked at. And now Dallas said they wanted a big. That was what they said, right? They wanted to focus on defense and they wanted a big. However, who would you rather have right now? 23-year-old Ja Morant or 31-year-old Anthony Davis? Bingo. Continue.
I've said this so many times. I'm being a dead horse. I'm not an NBA guy, but I feel like I got enough knowledge in me to know that was one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen in my entire life. To not shop Luka Doncic tells me that the person that made this decision has no idea what he's talking about. And then we've talked about on this podcast how clueless some of these owners are, starting with Woody Johnson, that bases his ratings based on Madden. Like, it's not crazy for an owner to have no idea what he's doing. Now, my question is for you, because I'm interested. I'm sure you've looked into this a little more than me. Did LeBron James know? Did Jason Kidd know? Who do you think knew about? Did Luka Doncic have any idea about this deal going down? Like, who do you think knew? Was it just like was it literally like a spur of the moment type of thing? Were they shopping for a week, a month? Like, any inkling you have on this? Anything you've seen?
Yeah, so what is out there, I'll start with, and then I'll tell you my read in between the tea leaves of what's out there. What's out there is nobody knew. Luka Doncic didn't know. Jason Kidd didn't know. JJ Redick didn't know.
And not to cut you off, Kidd looked beyond pissed at that presser.
He
beyond
said everything without saying anything.
Oh, man, and I love that too. And I'll let you go on now.
Yeah, so LeBron James found out at dinner with his family after dominating the Knicks. Anthony Davis didn't know, and it's sketchy. So I'm not somebody who says, absolutely not, that's BS, there's no way. I am saying I don't think it's the whole truth. I think it's partial truth. I think most people didn't know about it. The reason I say that, this is a Clutch client we're talking about. Clutch obviously being Rich Paul, LeBron James' best friend's agency, as many people refer to it as LeBron's agency, right? Rich Paul and Clutch is Anthony Davis's, representation. So that comes into play. LeBron James obviously been playing with Anthony Davis for years. So I believe that a lot of these parties did not know, but I do believe LeBron James knew and was instructed and a part of not letting people know that he knew. For two reasons. One, to save face around the league that he didn't force another thing for his team to do. Even though he would look pretty smart in this instance, he would just look like kind of a jerk to Anthony Davis, right? And then number two, he brought Anthony Davis in. They won a championship together. And the shortcomings of this Lakers team is not really on AD this year. He's been outplaying LeBron. So it would make him look bad again. So I believe LeBron James knew, but he was also smart enough to realize I can't let people know that I know. So I'm going to find out at dinner, right? But I do believe that not anyone knew, because the number one thing that I thought was interesting, Ryan Russillo was reporting this, that he had teams reaching out to him saying, did you hear about this? Because none of us knew that this guy was on the block. He said during a live podcast, 8 teams he talked to all said, we had no idea this guy was on the block. So I don't think people knew about it, but I do think a few more people knew than we were led on to believe.
Flabbergasting stuff. I think LeBron knew. You don't make decisions without LeBron James knowing. Whether or not you agree with that, I guess he's earned that. He's the best player of our generation.
Just like the Knicks wouldn't with Brunson.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. And you don't make decisions without consulting LeBron James. I think that's fair enough. And I think at the end of the day, whether or not LeBron is best friends with Anthony Davis, it was a trade that will change the whole entire future for the Lakers, because now it seems like it's going to be Luka's team moving forward.
Which is a huge win for the Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers are it almost seems like some sort of conspiracy that the NBA wants the Lakers to be good so bad because it's good for money and the ratings are down, but I won't get into the conspiracies yet because I find them to be tiring. there was one team that was also that was. Did I hear it right? That one other team was involved. Do we know who that was?
Yeah, the Utah Jazz are involved in this trade. They sent a pick or two around. They
No,
sent
no,
a
no.
player or
Wasn't there
two.
somebody else that offered a trade? Was that? Did that get reported?
I don't believe so. I believe
Okay.
that it was reported that the Dallas Mavericks reached out to the Los Angeles Lakers weeks ago about this. Weeks ago, which is crazy that it didn't come out, right? But I don't think that's the crazy part. I think the crazy part more so is that Dallas didn't say, okay, let's see what else we got, right? We've covered that already. The Utah Jazz were involved in making this trade happen. Danny Ainge, who is a conniving son of a bitch, who doesn't lose trades, who doesn't want to help the Lakers at all because he hates the Lakers forever, he has. He helped make this happen. Apparently, it was reported that he didn't know that this was Luka for AD until much closer to the deal being done. He was facilitating the trade, getting pieces back that would help him, and then he was finding out exactly what this trade was. So this is crazy all around. This is unheard of, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's just totally a botch job. It seems like on the outside looking in by Dallas. Like, is it a panic job? Like,
Well, here's the thing, too. Let me add this for you, too. More
I mean, I
context.
feel like we're smart enough. Like, we're not NBA owners, coaches,
Right.
but like we're smart. Hey, we want to trade Luka, whatever. He's not taking this serious. Even though we made the NBA Finals last year, and we made the Western Conference Finals before, and we got this generational talent. We don't think we could get over the hump with him, and we don't think we're going to re-sign him in 2 years because every NBA player, I guess at this point, kind of controls their own destiny if you're that good. So we're going to let him walk. But I can't get over it. To not shop the whole entire league is downright embarrassing.
So there's two things. That's obvious, and I agree with you on the shopping part. Two things that I think are realistic here as well. The first of being, if you let Luka get to the summertime, right, then does his value go up or down, right? His value in theory would go up because, like, you then have a chance to resign him. He finishes the year strong, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But if Luka then says, I want to stay, and you pay him the supermax, it becomes that much harder to trade him, right? Because with this new CBA, the rules are a little bit more difficult to get these trades to happen. So that's another part of it, right? So if he gets paid that extra extension with the supermax on top of it, trading him becomes harder. So if you wait till the summertime, it gets a little more complicated. The other thing that I think is true, you have to be aware of who reports what. This is that thing where it's not tinfoil hat conspiracy. It's understanding what type of relationships exist between reporters and certain teams. So if you see some of the reports that came out about Luka Doncic's weight, about the concerns about his conditioning and his defensive priorities, one of the key reporters on that was Tim McMahon. I think Tim McMahon's a good reporter. I don't think Tim McMahon told any lies in his report. However, Tim McMahon is a known Dallas guy. Does that mean that he is biased to the Dallas area? No. It means his connections are in the Dallas area. So he's reporting what he's hearing. So he's not lying. He's not being biased. He is reporting things that he believes are true because people he trusts and has relationships with are telling him. It's very convenient, though, that it comes out that Luka Doncic was 270 pounds moments after the trade. It comes out very conveniently that he doesn't care about defense or conditioning moments after the trade. That's Dallas trying to do some PR control and take ownership of the situation and say, no, we didn't want this guy. Meanwhile, most of us smart NBA fans out here are saying, who gives a shit? 270? I don't care. He's averaging 30 and 10 and 7, right? Like, who gives a crap? So I'm not calling Tim McMahon a bad reporter. He's a great reporter. I trust his reporting. It's just very convenient that those reports came out from the Dallas guy right after they made this trade, right? So as a fan, you have to keep your glasses on, keep your head on a swivel, and understand what's happening. And that's why part of it, I do believe. So Brian Windhorst, I don't know if you have any opinions on Brian Windhorst, Mike.
I like Brian.
I do too. In fact, I like him to the point where now that Adrian Wojnarowski is gone, I find Brian Windhorst to be one of the most trustworthy voices in the NBA media. The reason I believe that is he is so careful and so respectful of the craft that he will only say things that he believes are true, that he believes matter. He's not a mouthpiece. He's not a guy who goes out here and just spews stuff for clicks. In fact, he does the opposite over and over again. I've heard him on podcasts for years saying, I'm not going to say anything about this because I'm not sure yet. That's the cue of a smart, like wise reporter, right? Windhorst said it after the finals game 3 last year, how that team was fed up with his defense and his effort. And he thought it was unacceptable. And that was his take. I think it's unacceptable how he played defense there. And I believe they're fed up with it too. And he said that the Dallas Mavericks front office and coaching staff dodged him from now until then because he believes they didn't want to confirm that because they didn't want to, ruffle feathers, hurt value, et cetera, et cetera. So he came out and reinstated that and said it again. And I believe Brian Windhorst. I know people think of him as this LeBron mouthpiece from yesteryear. It's not who he is. He is a trustworthy dude who's very careful about what he says. Very careful. So when he's saying that, I believe there's truth to it. And guess what, Mike? I don't care. I still want Luka Doncic on my team. He's freaking incredible. He's 25. There is still so many years for him to take conditioning serious. And guess what? He's joining forces with Mr. Conditioning. He's joining forces with Mr. Health. He's now having a chip on his shoulder the size of Texas. He might come in locked and loaded and ready to go to murder the Dallas Mavericks for years to come.
Follow-up question for you. I pretty much agree with mostly everything you said. Luka's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's going, you're talking about a generational talent. If his weight is the reason that he falls off of a cliff and doesn't live up to what he's supposed to be, then shame on him. Are the
Agreed.
Lakers, I think the main question is, are the Lakers championship contenders now?
The Lakers are championship contenders now. The
This
Lakers,
year?
yes. The Lakers were on the border of contendership before this. They were playing well. They were figuring out rotations. Anthony Davis was having a great year. The one problem is their defense just got a little worse, and their defense was already bad. They have Max Kleber. He's fine defensively. But now they have an offense that has the chance to be juggernaut level. If LeBron James plays like he did against New York on Saturday night, and Luka and LeBron figure out how to share the sugar, spread the wealth, this offense could be legendary. So they were on the fringe of contendership, and I believe now they're one more level up. They're not the prime contender, but I will put them right next to Houston, Memphis, Denver, any day of the week. OKC, the way they're playing, they deserve to be number one in the West from a contendership standpoint and obviously in the seeding. But right now, that 2 through 8 range, once the playoffs get settled out and the play-in's done, if the Lakers are in it, you don't want to see Luka Doncic in the playoffs. You already didn't want to see LeBron in the playoffs. Now you got to handle both of them. Good luck. They have as good a chance as anybody in the West.
What about the Dallas Mavericks?
I'm glad you asked that question, Mike. I think one thing people aren't talking about when it comes to this trade for the Dallas Mavericks is Kyrie Irving. The Kyrie Irving part of this story is now the most interesting outside of Luka and LeBron to me. It's not about Anthony Davis. We know what Anthony Davis is. He's a guy who can score in the upper 20s, get his 11, 12 rebounds, be a good rim protector. We thought we knew what Kyrie Irving officially was. A great number 2 who can carry you in fourth quarters, make big shots, and make the right play. Now Kyrie Irving is being asked to be a carrier of an offense. There's no more Luka to eat all the innings, to take a baseball reference, right? Luka Doncic was the ultimate innings eater. He'll play 4 quarters. He'll give you 30, 10, and 10. He'll be a beast. He'll make great shots. He'll make great passes. Kyrie was the supplement to that. Sometimes he scores 25 and has 3 assists. Sometimes he scores 14 and has 9 assists. But he's a beast late in fourth quarters, and you know what he does. Now it's time for all the Twitter NBA crazy fans who love Kyrie Irving and put him in the likes of Steph Curry and put him in the likes of the best point guards of a generation, even though Kyrie Irving has never led a team as number 1 to the promised land. Not even close. Kyrie Irving's been a number 1 once in his career. Twice. Kyrie Irving's been a number 1 twice in his career. Early on in Cleveland, that didn't go well. He was too young. Then in Boston, it went well for a little bit, and then it crashed and burned. Now it's time. Kyrie Irving has to be a number 1 option again. It's never gone that well before, and that's the biggest question, and no one's talking about it. So no, I don't think Dallas is a contender right now. If the Lakers are on the fringe of contendership, the Mavericks are on the fringe of contendership. And a lot of it, to me, sits on the shoulders of Kyrie Irving.
And now the NBA trade deadline is when, Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
So any other big moves are you expecting? Obviously, Jimmy Butler seems like the one big name, and I don't know if you follow that Poly Market app or whatever, but the Lakers seem like they're in the running now. I believe the Suns were in the running.
Yeah.
Any idea what the next big move is? Anybody else are you expecting to maybe get moved?
Well, the Warriors are seemingly out on Jimmy Butler, but obviously we should mention at least the De'Aaron Fox thing. De'Aaron Fox goes to San Antonio. A great business decision for De'Aaron Fox to go join forces with Victor Wembanyama. I think the Spurs would be a year away of contendership, but another team that you don't want to see, because this guy, Victor Wembanyama, is a no-joke level talent already. He's a guy who's carrying a pretty bad to mediocre team to a play-in spot, maybe to a top 6 spot, maybe close, right? So they're going to be interesting now, and they're going to be a harder out. I think that could be electric pairing on offense, and obviously what Wemby does on defense is already incredible. So they deserve to be mentioned. And the Kings, you're not going to blame them. They bring in Zach LaVine. They're going to be meddling again. Bring back LaVine and DeRozan.
Talk about a fall off. I mean, they were what, a top 3 team in the West last year?
2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago they were number 2 seed, and obviously they never got over the hump.
And so why move Fox?
He was gonna leave, right?
Okay.
But they shopped Fox. They did the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Kings shopped him around. What's available? What's going to make this work for us? And they get picks, and they get young players. They get Zach LaVine, whatever. So that's a nice, fun piece. Obviously, from a contendership standpoint, I think that's going to be more futuristic. Other big names, though, to look out for here. I don't think Jimmy Butler's that. I don't think he's a big name right now. I know he's a big name. I don't think he's a big player, honestly. This guy, since his last finals appearance, has been a little bit of a shell of himself, frankly. And can he turn it on? We've seen him do it before. Absolutely, yes. But I'm not convinced that he's going to go fit in perfectly somewhere. I'm not convinced a team that actually is going to pull the trade off is going to make it work. So I'm not that interested as to where Jimmy goes. If I had to guess, he goes to a team that he makes them go from a kind of interesting team to a pretty interesting team. That's about it. I think the other names on the market are going to be Vucevic types, like decent pieces who can fill a role for a team, but aren't going to move the needle entirely by themselves.
And obviously the Lakers in the move for a big man now. Maybe Mitch Robinson, the Knick, goes there. I'm
glad you asked about Mitch Robinson. I think Mitchell Robinson's staying put. I think he's going to be a New York Knick through the deadline, going back to Brian Windhorst.
Knicks could use some help.
Who?
I feel like the Knicks could use a defensive center.
Correct. And basically what Windhorst said, I agree with. He said just last week before the Luka Doncic trade that the Knicks are viewing Mitchell Robinson as their trade deadline acquisition. He's coming back right around the same time as the trade deadline.
I hate that stuff. I got to say, that stuff really bothers me, but makes sense.
Well, that makes sense because you follow baseball, and the Yankees have been saying it for years.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Yankees 101. We're standing back at the deadline, and I can't stand that stuff. But
that's a good Cashman impression, though.
Sure.
No, but it's obviously a little bit of a cop-out answer, but it is true, right? Like Mitchell Robinson can add something very important and special to this Knicks team, especially now if OG is going to be out for a few weeks. Adding that to that defense, he obviously he's not a great offensive player, but he's such a great offensive rebounder. And he could finish with the lobs and stuff like that. So you appreciate him on offense as well. I think it's huge. And I don't think the Knicks are looking to move him at all. Frankly, Leon Rose moves in silence, though. Like we want a lot of GMs to do. He actually does. So even though a guy I trust reported that the Knicks want to keep him, I'm not 100% convinced. But if I were the New York Knicks, I want Mitchell Robinson on my team playing through the playoffs because what he does on the rebounds is just next level and changes series. We've seen it already 2 years in a row. He can change a series with rebounds.
Anything else on the NBA? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Man, everything. No, I think the Luka to the Lakers is going to add a dynamic to the rest of this NBA season that is a massive win for the league. So let me ask you some questions, Mike, real quick, because I think we have to cover the conspiracy angle of this. Which conspiracy theory do you think is most likely? Okay. The first one being that the NBA wanted to help the Lakers be interesting and good again and help LeBron get back to the pinnacle and give the Lakers a new star in Luka Doncic. That's one. Number two is this new ownership group in Dallas owning a casino while sports gambling is not legal in Texas. And apparently the conspiracy is they want to tank the Dallas Mavericks so they can convince to move to Las Vegas to become the new Vegas franchise. And then during expansion, they'll reinsert a franchise to Dallas. That is another that's a real conspiracy theory, Mike.
Oh God. I don't know, man. I have a love-hate relationship with conspiracies because at this point in my life, you know, man, with everything that's happened in the last, let's call it 5-6 years, like you never know. Like, can you make some sort of argument that the NBA was tanking, the ratings are down, the sport seems like it's a lot of people are losing interest in it, and like, what do you need to get, you know, these new NBA fans in there? What do you need to make a big splash? Oh, maybe trade your star player to LA and have him play with LeBron James. I think I'm going to say no conspiracy though, and I will go with that the ownership in Dallas is just idiotic. And like being that you know, we live in New York and we see it firsthand with the Jets, it's not crazy to think that an owner could just be a fucking idiot. And I think you just had the owner is just a fucking idiot and he panicked and I'm trying to rationale with him a little bit, but I can't.
I think if you're trying to rationalize with him, can you see a world where Luka Doncic pissed off ownership? Can you see a world where,
like, yeah,
he
made
insulted
the NBA
them?
Finals last year,
right? Can you see a world though, right, where this ownership group says, "Hey, Nico Harrison, you're our GM." I hope I'm saying his last name is Harrison. I think it's Harrison. Nico, you're the GM. Go tell Luka he has to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to Luka. Luka, you got to get in shape. What are you doing? Stop drinking so much beer and get to 245. You're 270 right now. Get to 245. And Luka says, "Go F yourself. I'm fine. You see what I do on the court? I'm fine. You need me." And then Nico goes back to ownership. Ownership goes, "All right, let's talk to him." And then Luka says the same thing to them. And Luka says, "Don't tell me how to live my life. Don't tell me to lose weight. I'm the best player you ever had. Da 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 da." And then the ownership goes, "Oh yeah? Screw you. We're going to trade you and you're going to lose $120 million in the process." Maybe that's rationalizing with the ownership group. It's not rational, but it's rationalizing with the group. I don't know. I'm trying over here.
I mean, let's say the one thing about Luka that annoyed me over the past 2 years watching him in the playoffs was he always complained every damn call. Always complained every single game. Is he a diva? I don't know the guy. I don't love calling people divas because I don't know him. He's most likely a sick, disgusting competitor that's one of the best in the world at what he does. So for me to sit here recording a podcast to call him a diva seems unfair, but he seems like a diva. So is that a possibility that someone said, "Hey, Luka, man, you're not in great shape"? From the outside looking in, he doesn't look like he's in great shape. Could he be in better shape? Not that I'm some health expert, but I would say yes. Did somebody go up to him and tell him what to do and he pretty much just said, "F yourself"? Possibility, but to not shop him, to not try to get the best deal for one of the best players in the league and one of the best trade pieces in the world doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
It doesn't.
You can't make sense of it. But like again, we live in New York. Woody Johnson is making decisions based on Madden ratings. So there are dumb fucks out there. And some of them might just own a basketball team.
Yeah, it's true. And the problem is with any rationalizing that we do with the Dallas side of things, it always comes back to, but you should shop them. No matter what. If you think Luka Doncic is going to tear his Achilles next week, like, because you know his physicals, right? And you think his calf is messed up and something bad's going to happen, you still shop the man. So no matter what good point you could make about your defense or your team mentality or your effort, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you did something with malpractice by not making a bidding war for a generational talent who has done things that only Michael Jordan and Oscar Robinson have done. Let's be real. Not every player who's even considered a superstar makes a conference finals and a finals in their first 6 years. By NBA standards, his prime is just starting. So no matter what rationalizing you want to do, not shopping him around is malpractice. That's it. End of story. So
That's it.
I think that's all.
There's nothing you can say to defend the Dallas man. And then I saw like, who was the dude? Was it Kendrick Perkins? I was like, the Mavericks won. Well, I mean, you're just begging for interaction, and then that shit gets me pissed off. Like, you cannot argue that the Mavericks made a sound decision. You just can't argue that was the best deal they could have got.
Is there a world where Anthony Davis plays how he's played last year and so far this year, and the Dallas Mavericks are a very good team? Yes, there is absolutely a world. But there's absolutely a world where the Dallas Mavericks were back in the finals with Luka Doncic. Absolutely. So I don't know, man. It's crazy. I can't wait to see.
won by 6, by the way.
Oh, let's go, baby.
No, the spread was 6.5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it live.
Can't make this stuff up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can't make that up. Actually, that sucks. I'm so sorry. I told you right before we started recording that I took the Knicks at halftime -2.5. So
yeah,
good for me, bad.
Congratulations.
I'm basically the Lakers, and you're the Mavericks in this situation.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, deadass. I also took the Pelicans. They were down 18.
Oh boy. Oh well. Speaking of betting,
one of those days.
Speaking of betting, Mike Didino.
Sick to my stomach.
_Didino on TikTok. Mike Didino_. You'll find him. Look up Mike Didino. Super Bowl week. How about that? Let me ask you this. How much have you thought about the Super Bowl after the championship games last Sunday to now, which is we're recording Monday night?
I gotta say, maybe this is a hot take, but I'm not like totally the biggest Super Bowl guy. It's just the end of football, and it's one game. And I live for like the Sunday mornings when I'm setting my fantasy lineups and I'm getting ready for 7 hours of commercial-free football and my parlays and my bets and my fantasy team. Like, what do I have here? I have the Chiefs versus the Eagles, and obviously the championship games were a disgrace. The officiating was a disgrace, and I hate. We've said it so many times that the league is not fixed. The officials are not in it, and then again the Chiefs get every call.
Yeah,
they're just pathetic at their job.
They're not,
and it's
in
so
on it.
hard
to
deal with in real time. I mean, it's funny how the same team always gets the calls, and like how it continuously happens, and it'll probably happen again. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy guy, especially with the officials just suck, and it's so hard when the game is moving so fast, and it's by like by a pubic hair to make a decision. Like you're gonna get it wrong 50-60% of the time.
Yeah, and that shows out. So it sounds like you haven't thought much about the Super Bowl just yet.
Not really. I mean, I was thinking about it a little bit today, honestly, just because I was like, oh, the Super Bowl's on Sunday.
I started thinking about it today. I could say with confidence I thought about it for a total of 7 minutes before today.
Yeah,
and
like
then
5-6 minutes too.
Yeah, today I started really thinking about it. I started looking at some props. I started doing that whole thing because this week off, and especially this week of coverage of the Super Bowl, it sucks in my opinion, which at first thought I was like, damn, the NBA moving the trade deadline to right before the Super Bowl is so dumb. And then I realized that week of sports coverage sucks. It's just regular NBA games and then like the same BS Super Bowl stories for 7 days straight or 14 days straight, whatever. So I'm like, maybe it's smart the NBA did that because now guess what we get to talk about? Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Anthony Davis and De'Aaron Fox and Wemby, whatever. So I'm happy about that. But on the Super Bowl front, now that I've started to think about it, I want to just talk through some big picture stuff. I don't want to go in the weeds of a million props because we're going to do a full Super Bowl picks podcast later this week. But from a big picture perspective, are you having leans yet? Are you having something about a player or a team that's really standing out to Mike Didino?
Chiefs money line. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't make sense. AJ Brown, big game. Haven't decided whether it's the yards, the receptions, or the touchdown yet, but I like AJ to he's due for one. I feel like he's due for one. So I like AJ, and I like um, the Chiefs to win. Those are my early leans right now.
Now, how do you normally bet on Super Bowl Sunday? Are you a guy who throws in like a handful of small long shots? Do you kind of lock in on two or three big boys? Do you bet like Super Bowl MVP? Like, do those things stand out to you?
I'm not fun. I'm not a fun guy. So what I'll be doing on the Super Bowl is I'll be continuing to do what I've been doing since January 1 is just taking a few straight bets and hoping I win more than I lose. So I'll probably take the Chiefs, and then I'll probably take, just because it's the Super Bowl, I'll probably take 2 player props, a total of 3 bets, and call it a day. And then go 0-3 and get really angry and then wake up and go to work on Monday morning. Pretty much how it's going to go.
I very fair. I'm a little bit different.
I think most people in the world are different, and they'll all be taking the long plays, and they'll be taking the Super Bowl odds, and you'll be taking the 51 to parlays, and 95% of you bozos are going to be losing because that's how they get you. I mean, the Super Bowl MVP odds, I'm just going to pull them up. I haven't looked at them, but I bet you they're a disgrace, some of the MVP odds.
I've seen them already, but I want you to see them because I have an idea. Because I usually do something every year that works out pretty well.
Like to bet the Gatorade color, you're a moron if you're betting the Gatorade color.
Yeah, I don't mess
Just
around
take
with that.
take a dart and throw it at the board. Like, do we want to win?
So I'll tell you what I'll do. Now you have the odds up yet?
I'm trying to find it. For some reason, I can't.
So I'll just tell you one. I'll spoil one for you. Patrick Mahomes plus 120 to win the Super Bowl MVP. The odds for the Kansas City Chiefs to win the game
are minus 120, right?
Are minus 120.
That makes no sense to me.
I take this bet almost every year. Instead of just taking the money line of the team that you think is going to win, I usually take the quarterback of the team I think is going to win to win MVP. Because you get better odds.
Money. Yeah, that's fair.
Is it a big difference? It's not a huge difference. But then what you can do is you can supplement.
Why can't I find MVP odds?
What are you on, DraftKings?
I'm on FanDuel.
Can't help you. I'm on DraftKings right now, unfortunately. But basically, you're just giving yourself a little boost there, plus 120 instead of minus 120, and you're betting that Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP. What has to happen for the Chiefs to win and Patrick Mahomes to not win MVP? Travis Kelce has to have $150 and 3 touchdowns.
See, right? I hate that bet personally, but I don't think there's any value in it.
Well, there's more value than betting Chiefs money line.
No, there's not.
Yeah, it's minus 120 versus plus 120.
Yeah, but is there a chance that Mahomes could not win the MVP?
I think it's a small chance.
Okay. So for me, based on the odds, not even worth it.
So then so this is where we differ very much, right? So I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP. I actually think I'm going to end up betting the Eagles, frankly. So I'm going to have a bunch of stuff out there. Very different than how you do Super Bowl. I'm going to have probably like 3 or 4, maybe 5 bets that are about even odds. I'm going to have probably 2 or 3 bets in the plus like 500 range. And I'm going to throw about 5 or 6 really small bets in the plus like 1,000, plus 2,000 type BS. And my thought process is if I do good on the straight bets, I break even. If I hit just one of these long shot bets, boy, am I a winner.
Oh, yeah,
and it's a sucker's mentality. But I've had some success in the past. I'll take a few touchdowns. I'll take a few same game parlays. I'll take a exact score and mess around. I hit an exact score a couple years ago, and it was electric. I'll tell you that much. But
there's no better feeling than hitting like a 50 to 1.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
But you hit a 50 to 1 every 75 times.
But it's a Super Bowl, and there ain't no turning
Super
back
Bowl,
now.
man. Hey, man, I got no hate for anyone that wants to have fun and try to win money in the Super Bowl and take that long shot.
And what I did on Saturday, Mike, I made a bet thinking this is going to be a $10 bet. And if I win, I bankroll myself for the Super Bowl. Josh Hart triple-double, LeBron James triple-double, plus 3,100. And it hit.
They did it, right?
So I won $320, a nice little bankroll for you, boy, to put out a bunch of dumb bets on Sunday. And that's my plan. Bunch of dumb bets.
If that's the case, good for you. That's a free do whatever you want in the Super Bowl bet.
Yeah, I know. And I can't wait. I'm leaning Eagles. I'm gonna say that now. I'm ready to be hurt.
Yeah, at first I was leaning Eagles. Now I feel like a lot of people are taking the Eagles. It almost seems like it's a 50-50 type bet because at first I thought everyone's going to be in the Chiefs. Everybody was on the Bills, it seemed like, and then the Chiefs won. Now everyone's going to jump ship and go on the Chiefs. And I think the Eagles do match up well against the Chiefs. I'm just not going to go against Patrick Mahomes. It just seems like it's not financially a good decision.
It typically isn't.
I mean, if you bet against the Chiefs, you will lose 80% of the time.
If you bet against them with the points, though, which in this case doesn't really matter because
in this case, like I'd be interested to see what the Chiefs are and like close to pick'ems. It's wicked. They're probably like 10 or 11-1 or 2.
Something I'll probably do in one of my straight bets is do like Eagles plus 7.5, and then find a prop like AJ Brown, for example, and like bring him down to like 50 plus or something to that nature, or Dallas Goedert, get him to 25 plus. Actually, something like that. So if I take, let me just do that real quick. If I take the let's see, same game parlay, and then we'll say goodbye since we're leaving here.
I gotta say, I'm disgusted about how the Knicks won by 6.
I'm really sorry about that, by the way.
I'm not sure if you were watching the game, but did you see Aaron Holiday clearly jump and take a 3, and they didn't call it a travel, and he hit the 3? And I was watching the game, and I said that's going to be the spread, and it was. And it was.
That's not good. So yeah, if you take the Eagles minus 7.5, and then you get Dallas Goedert. Oh no, that's not great odds there. If you take AJ Brown 60 plus.
What's his yards?
His line is 71.5 on DraftKings.
When was the last time he had 71 yards? Because I don't know if he did it last game. I think it's been a minute. Last week he had a big game, but before that it was 14. Before that it was 10. Before that it was 36.
Right.
So it's been a month.
So maybe Barkley's numbers are out of control high.
Yeah. And he'll score.
Yeah. So if you do something like that, that's what I'm going to probably do. I'm going to probably take the Eagles plus 7.5, and then find my favorite prop that's around, minus 175 to minus 200, and get that around even. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Well,
I'm wishing you the best of luck, man.
Thank you. I love Super Bowl Sunday because I get my little piece of paper. I write down all my bets, all my numbers, old-fashioned way.
Instead of just using it on your phone.
Well, here's the thing. I'll have, a handful of plays in DraftKings. I'll have a Super Bowl box or two.
Okay,
I'll have
that's fair.
A couple
I don't
random...
do the boxes. I don't do Super Bowl boxes ever. I just don't win. Like I have a 1 in essentially 25 chance to win. Like I don't win those.
With that attitude, Mike.
I know. With that attitude. But I just don't win those. Like I'm gonna do it. If I do, some guy asked me today. He's like, "You want to do a Super Bowl box for $10? Buy like 4 or 5 boxes. We'll split it 10." It's like, no, I am going to lose. He's like, "What that attitude? You're gonna lose?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to lose."
And you know what?
And I'm gonna do the boxes.
You probably lose less money than most on Super Bowl Sunday, and that's probably good for you.
And I'm gonna do the boxes. And I'm gonna get like Eagles 6 and Chiefs 2, and I'm gonna be dead before the game starts. And I'm going to be salty before the game even starts.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like an ink of life in like the third quarter or something, get my hopes up, and then I'm going to just get pissed off and lose.
You start talking yourself into it. All right, listen, hear me out.
If
they go for 2 and they don't get it, and then the other team kicks a field goal.
All I need is a field goal missed, then a safety, then a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. And we got to look if they kick a field goal after that.
It's so good. I can't wait. All right, Mike. Well, we went over the allotted time we had here for today, but guess what? That's what happens when you're having fun.
We always do. We almost went an hour, of course.
If you can bet on the over of this podcast, you should bet on it every time.
That's the biggest lock of all time. And me losing a disgustingly heartbreaking bet.
What's the record on the bet every day?
So I've changed that.
Okay. What do you got?
Because I found that I was gambling on top of gambling. Now it's like, all right, I always like 3-4 picks. Now I'm going to take 1 pick. And then one day, like, I lost 1. I had, like, 3 picks, and I lost the 1. And I was like, I'm fucking done doing this. But I'll pull it up right now. It's okay. I'm 67%.
That's great.
26 and 13.
That's fantastic.
It's okay.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Fantastic. It's fucking fantastic. But I lost the Knicks by 0.5 point, so I'm really pissed. And I'm not looking good in the Pelican. So tonight could be a bad one. And then that's why it could change quick when you do 3-4 plays a night.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, right?
That's it. You're in for the long haul. In
Yeah.
it for the long haul. Mike Didino, at Mike_Didino on X, Mike Didino _ on TikTok. That's what we got. Subway Sports
But hey,
Talk.
man, I will say my new mentality is I could be the Dallas Mavericks. Like if it's going bad for you and you're listening to the podcast and you're at work and you're getting jammed up or your girlfriend's bothering you, you're having a bad day, you lose a heart, I could be a Dallas Mavericks owner, man. I could be the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. So be happy you're not that bozo.
And that's a perfect way to end it, man. Subway Sports Talk. You know where to find us. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Apple Podcast app, Spotify. Look up Subway Sports Talk. You'll find us there. I was traveling last week, so the clips on social slowed down. Apologies about that. We're coming back hard starting when this podcast comes out on Tuesday. So follow us on socials. Follow us on YouTube. That's where you'll see all the good fun stuff. And then for me, T.O. Allen Friends, Thursday nights on Uptown Sports TV on YouTube, Thursdays at 8. I'll be back on that this week as well. That's all we got.
Looking forward to it.
Mike
That's all
Didino.
we got. It was fun, Pete. It's always fun.
Hell yeah, brother. That's it. Talk to you guys soon. Subway Sports Talk. Cheers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.